Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of the 1904 Club, coming live to you from the MKN Stadium, myself and Burnsey, and we've just had the pleasure of spending an hour or so with Tim Walter and also Acun Ilicali, Tim Walter's first press conference. So let's get into it. Burnsey, how did you think it went?
I was impressed with him, I have to say, Baz. I liked him. He was charismatic. His English was excellent. He came across really well. He was engaging, and ultimately it comes down to what he does on the training pitch and what he does on the football pitch. But in terms of his introduction to the media, I think most people, having chatted to a few of the people there, were sort of charmed by him. So he made a good impression. He's got a nice line in lines. I mean, the standout one for me was, "I was made in Germany, but I'm made for England."
Yeah.
I thought, nice line. I don't know whether he's worked on that or not. I don't know, but I was impressed with him. And he's somebody else picked up on it. He's got he's a very dapper man. He's got the look of an actor about him as a charming hitman or as a spy in a thriller movie. I liked him, so let's wait and see what his football was like. The other thing, the big thing, he kept saying, "I'm different."
Yeah, he did. He said that. He must have said that 10, 12 times throughout his...
Yeah.
And that is the crux of it. I put to him that he's walking into a good situation in the sense that Liam Rosenior, the style of play that Liam had, possession based, building from the back, gives him a leg up. If he was coming here, if we think, look, I'm not comparing like for like, but if you think back to what Birmingham tried to do awkwardly last season, John Eustace had a very defined, direct style of play. Which was successful. It got them into they had a good start to the season, and early in the season they decided to rip that up, and they wanted Wayne Rooney to come in and completely change the way they played in a season, and we saw how it just blew up in their faces. That isn't the case with Tim Walter. He's coming here, he'll be working with a group of players that are already used to playing his style of play. He will tweak it, obviously, he will adapt it. He's different, as we've pointed out. He will play more on the front foot. But he's starting from a good place, isn't he?
Yeah, and there's certainly an inheritance from Liam Rosenior, but I would point out to everybody, correct me if I'm wrong, Baz, but Liam Rosenior almost said the same thing when he came in. "I play differently. You'll see stuff that he did say it. So
and he did, and to be fair to Liam, it was different.
Yes, and so, but ultimately he's been replaced by Tim Walter. And I couldn't quite get to the bottom of in what way it's different, so I'll be intrigued. He says it's high intensity. There's a lot of rotation. There's a lot of possession. I sort of said to him at the end, "Is it like total football, the classic Ajax total football?" He said it was a bit more compact than that. So we'll have to wait until we start seeing them pre-season and we see them in the white hot heat of the championship as to what they're like. But I'm looking forward to it. He's whetted my appetite for having a look and see what he's about.
Yeah, I thought he came across really well. I mean, I say that with the caveat being that you'd be hard pushed to go to a new manager press conference and not come away going,
"Yeah, true.
Well, I thought that was I thought he was terrible. I wouldn't want to be part of that." So you've got to also bear in mind that Tim is not only is he speaking to the supporters for the first time, but it's his first public display of being the manager in front of Acun, in front of Tan, the club staff, and also the players. A lot of the players would have been tuning in, wherever they are in the world right now, to watch that, to see what their manager, because they won't have spoken to him. They will know a bit. Some of them would have done their research to try and find out what they're expecting, but a lot of them will be, were like us, kind of curious, intrigued to see what he's got to say. And the players would have heard him for the first time today. So he would have also been speaking to them. And we'll come on to the goalkeeper situation, because that is obviously a huge talking point and will be for a period of time. So he was speaking to a lot of people, and I thought he was calm, composed, polished. I know he was nervous about the language before he came in to meet the media. I have to say, huge credit. His English was fantastic, and his grasp of of everything was just brilliant. A very, very intelligent guy, as you say, very stylish, very dapper. And I know from seeing clips of him at previous clubs and speaking to people that have worked with him and whatnot. He's passionate, and he'll be fascinating to watch. I'm really looking forward to seeing him on the touchline and what he looks like a bundle of energy. You look at some of the pictures that we've used on our stories over the last couple of weeks. There's his arms everywhere and his facial expressions. He's really intense, and I think you got a glimpse of that today in how he came across. There was a lot of smiles, a lot of smirks, very warm, engaging kind of fella. But there was also, you could see in his eyes, a steely focus at times as well. And he's trying to work everybody out, isn't he? He's trying to, he's new to it. This is only his second or third day actually in the city of Hull. And he's met Acun once or twice, a lot of times on Zoom and speaking on the phone. But so he'll be feeling his way as well, won't he? And but yeah, I was impressed. I really, I met a couple of fans in the car park as I was coming in. They weren't the ones with pitchforks, thankfully.
I don't think there's any of them now.
Just on social media. But yeah, they were kind of asking what my thoughts were on the overall appointment. I was like, I don't really know yet, because I've not spoken officially to him. That's what we've done today. Until you see his, talking is great, but until you actually see his team out on the pitch and what that looks like, we'll get a look at that out in Turkey in 10 days. Sorry, not in 10 days. When they go to Turkey for 10 days.
And there's a bonus in that for the supporters, because some will be able to go.
It looks like,
well.
yeah. For the third time, fans are going to be out there in pre-season with the team. So that is another a Brucey bonus for those that will get to go. I guess more information will follow. I can imagine one or two behind the scenes at a club now running around like headless chickens, trying to figure it all out and put some meat on the bones, because Acun said that. So that'll be good, and the fans that will go out to Turkey will get a look at the team in a couple of friendlies they'll probably play out there. I'm expecting one showpiece game. It probably doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out
an announcement in a couple of days.
Who that might be against.
I would have thought
probably not Galatasaray.
Yeah, probably not. There'll be no need for anybody a la Souness to go and plant the flag in the middle of the pitch or anything like that. But overall, a good first impression. But we've all seen managers give good first impressions. It's what he does on the training ground and on the pitch. But it's a good start, and it was an interesting press conference. There was quite a lot said. Acun talked about the financial situation. He's only under the whatever the regulations they are. Only 14 or 15 million quid can come out his pocket, and we'll wait and see what happens in terms of transfer developments. And he stressed, didn't he, the way they're going to go about their transfer business. The brain team will select players. There'll be input from the coach, and the final decision, the financial one made, will be Acun's. Yes, have I got that right? Have I paraphrased that right?
Yeah, I think ultimately it'll come down to whether they can afford it or not.
Yes,
that is the crux of it. We've said numerous times it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work it out either, that City are a club where their finances are limited. They don't have the benefit of parachute payments. They haven't got that ability. There's a limit here to how many people they can get in the stadium. Ticket prices aren't exactly a massive revenue earner for them because they're so well priced. So like any club in the Championship that doesn't have the benefit of parachute payments, you are relying probably every summer on a sale. He made his plea to Greavesy that he wants him to stay, but he also acknowledges that Greavesy wants to go. And you can't begrudge that. And I think knowing Jacob like I do, and having seen him progress here over the last 3 or 4 years, you can't argue that he deserves that chance. And if that chance comes along, it's then up to the club and in conjunction with Greavesy to decide whether that is something they look to do. But if you could get 15-20 million pound for Jacob Greaves, that's an awful lot of money. You don't want to lose him. Of course you don't, because he's by very definition of being named in the team of the year, he's one of the best two centre halves in the division. So, but you have got, if he goes, that opens up the opportunity for an Andy Smith, for a Stan Ashby, potentially Sean McLaughlin or somebody else coming in to partner Alfie Jones, and that also gives them the flexibility then to go out and invest in the squad, which they're going to need to do because obviously, as we know, and we've spoken about an awful lot, they need a lot of work in the transfer market. So, which that is starting. Is it me or is it raining out there?
It might be raining.
It is,
It's
absolutely.
the sound of the machinery working on sorting the new pitch out, which
Heck of a lot of work going
is
on, by
all
the
a
way.
sand or soil base at the moment. So credit to them for doing that and improving the facilities. A couple of other quotes that I sort of picked out because somebody asked him, Acun, in the press conference, about what's the expectation of where they should finish, and I think he said success is for us is top 10. Our aim is top 6, and I find that quite interesting personally, because I'm thinking, as I said on the pod yesterday, if you're 7th and you're entertaining, you're all right. If you're less than 7th and not entertaining, then you're on a slippery slope as the head coach. So we'll see how he does, but the top 6 has got to be the top 8. And the other thing he said was Acun thinks the championship will be easier this season.
I think on the subject of like him putting, I get the feeling, and I might be wrong in this, I get the feeling he's reluctant at the minute to say we want the top 6 because at the minute that squad, with the best will in the world, isn't a top 6 squad. So he's not. I don't think he can come out and say what are we, June the 4th, and say on June the 4th, oh, I want top 6, because at the minute the manager hasn't got a top 6 squad.
No.
So maybe on September the 1st, after the transfer window's closed and they've signed 8, 9, 10 players, of similar calibre to, Carvalho or whatever, Liam Delap, he might be a bit more bullish in his demands. But I just don't think at this stage, I don't think he can say too much because they're nowhere near a top 6 squad as we sit here, in June with, another 2 weeks until the transfer window officially opens, and an awful lot of work to do. But in fairness, I know that, an awful lot of work has been going on behind the scenes, as it did, I think it's also worth pointing out that Liam, a lot of transfer window planning went on last season, and so the targets that Liam had in mind, or the transfer committee, if you like,
the brain team,
as Acun calls it, they may still be similar targets. They'll have chats with Tim Volter, and they'll say, and Tim will be like, yeah, I like. He spoke about. You asked him about Liam Delap, didn't you?
Yeah, he did. He said that still in discussions with Liam Delap, and he would anticipate them putting in an offer to Man City. And just on the subject of recruitment, you asked him about Lee Darnborough and whether he would be replaced. The answer came from Acun in the affirmative, so they will be looking for somebody else to join the brain team.
Anyway, less of us talking about it.
Yeah.
Here's a little clip coming up now of Acun introducing Tim Volter, and then Tim Volter's first words.
Hello guys. Yes.
More microphone.
Yes. Thank you,
Hello everybody. Is working?
should be working. Yeah.
No?
It's just for the stream. Everyone
Okay.
can hear you.
So, hello everybody. Happy to be here. Today I think is a very important day for our club because we are starting a new season with a new coach and we are very excited. I will just give a little information about team and how everything happened. Then he will just talk, I think, then we can get the questions. First of all, Tim Walter for us is number 1 choice of our football brain team, our club's number 1 target he was. So actually we saw many technical directors being interested to work with us, which is always very good for this club and we are very happy. But while this process was happening, some good names, successful coaches were interested about being Hull City coach. Actually, our brain and target was Mr. Tim Walter, and it was a fantastic meeting when we met each other with my team and team together. And of course, we knew many things about him before we met him, and so many positive things were being talked about him. So when we saw him, his energy, his passion, his dedication, we were really impressed. And after the first meeting, this time it was in London, and this time we went to Munich to see him, and one more important meeting we had, and after that we saw that we were completely in the same page, and for me his style of football, his way of controlling the team and everything is very suitable for my football mentality. My character, as I always say, is full of passion of success, and I'm living in this life to have more and more success. I think we achieved fantastic performances in the last 2.5 years, improving performances. Again, I thank from here to Mr. Liam Rozeynor. Liam is a very good friend of mine, and he will always be in our hearts. We will never forget how improved our team, and we can make the story like at the end of the day, we started Hull City journey when the team was, I think, number 21 or somewhere like this, and never deserved to be there. After our half season, I think what we put was always improving, 15, then 7. Now our aim, of course, is to push more and more with a little different style of football, and I hope our fans will like it. And to say the last thing, I want our fans to believe in us. I want them to know that whatever we are doing is good for this beautiful club. I love them. They don't need to just agree about all of our decisions, but don't forget, somebody at the end of the day has to decide about something so that the club can go to further levels. So in this case, maybe some of them didn't like it, maybe some of them liked it. I'm completely respectful to all our fans. I love them all, as I always say. They are so beautiful people. So at the end of the day, we had a decision and we did it. Now our new decision is Mr. Tim Walter, and very happy to see him here. I'm extremely excited to see him on the pitch, and again thank him for accepting our offer. And now let's start the new era with him and give the microphone to him. Again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Acun. First of all, I want to thank Acun and Tan and his team for the trust in me. That's the first thing I want to say. So I'm very happy to be here. I was made in Germany, but I'm made for England. So our vision fits perfect. So I'm looking forward to being the new coach of Hull City.
Tim, Ari from ITV, welcome to Hull City. You say you're made for England. Can you explain on what you mean by that?
So I mean, my vision of football, my philosophy will fit perfect to the style the English footballer try to play. So that's a reason for me. It's a new challenge, but I'm very excited on that, and I have a kind of winning mentality, like Acun said. So it fits perfect together. So I mean, it's perfect for England.
what was the attraction to her when you got the phone call from Acun? How did he sell the club to you?
Our conversations, we were very straight, and we were directly on a point to find a good agreement and to work together. You can say we are surfing on the same wave, so like it is, and the beginning you have a good feeling between us. So for me that's the most important thing, that the relation is good, so you can work good together, so you can develop a club and you can be successful if you work together. And in my opinion it fits perfect, so that's the reason why I did it.
And you're looking forward to getting the players in pre-season and getting your vision and your implementing the way you want the players to play and see Hull City play football?
Yes, but the first thing is to get to know everybody. So like the press, so like the lads, the fans. So it's exciting for me because I don't know England as well, but for me it's a perfect challenge. So that's the reason why I'm looking forward to it.
And in terms of, Acun saying style of play is very important for Hull City and his teams. What should the fans expect from a team Hull City?
So like in the past stations I had in Hamburg, so we scored the most goals. We had the best expected goals. So we played very offensive. We're playing different. Yeah, we have a flowing building up from the back. So nobody stands still. It's always play and move. So because if you stay, you will be dead, and that's a lot of principles in my game. But it will be new and different. But so I am like I am, and I try to be like that.
And how much do you know of the Championship? Because this is a very tough, very aggressive style of league, and a lot of games to be played. You're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday. This is a very challenging league to get out of, isn't it?
I agree. Yeah, because I watched a lot of matches. So, but for me, football is the same everywhere you are, and so for me, winning is the same. That's my mentality. So the league is very competitive. That's true. It's the difference between the German second Bundesliga or the Championship. You have a lot of midweek games. So so you have to prepare in the pre-season a little bit more, because I'm playing different, like I said. So you have to train a little bit more. So but yeah, at the end we want to win. So that's good for us. So it's a challenge, and it's a competition we want to play.
And I imagine the aim and the ambition is to get out of the Championship into the Premier League.
The question is everywhere the same. So it's my first day over here, or my second day over here. So first we get to know each other, like I said, and after that you can ask me that question in a few months. So let's talk about later, please.
No problem. Just a few for you, Acun, if possible. You said Tim was your number one target. How pleased are you then to have him in the door, sat next to you as the Hull City head coach?
The question is?
How pleased are you to have him here and signed as Hull City's coach?
How does it feel?
Yes.
I mean, a little, I have different characters because when I want something, I'm a little very ambitious and will be upset if I cannot do it. In the transfer window, actually, it happened that I worked like crazy with the team to achieve our targets last year, and we made a fantastic team. Also in January, we were like crazy. We have to do it. Let's finish it. Tan, what happened? Tan, please call him again. So much ambition I have, and it affects the whole team, I think. And I would be very, very upset actually if we couldn't agree with him, because as I tell you, in my life, I'm always happy when I can get the number one choices in everything. In this coaching world, there are so many, of course, successful and good coaches. But what I learned about Tim was explaining completely our philosophy, me and my team's philosophy, and it couldn't be more suiting each other. So it's not all the time can be possible something like that. So because of that, of course, I'm very excited.
And what does Tim bring that Liam maybe didn't have?
Actually, there is nothing Tim will bring Liam didn't have, because completely different characters, and both of them are very successful coaches. So I don't like to compare coaches like this, because every coach has their own mentality. So it is like comparing orange and apple. One is orange, one is apple. So completely different things that we cannot compare. So what I believe is Liam is a very successful coach, and he gave us many things, and I think he's so good in coaching. But from the first minute, I'm telling something very clearly. In football, I don't think that it's possible that everybody likes the same style of football. I don't feel like anybody will say that everybody in the world, football world, is saying that this is my football style, this is the best style. There is nothing like that in the world. Guardiola is playing different style, Klopp is playing different style, Ancelotti is playing another style. So can you tell me who is better than who? I think impossible. So here I don't want to compare these very successful coaches.
And just finally, this is your third managerial appointment. How important is it that this one is successful and is a long-term appointment?
Yeah, of course, life will show us, because nobody can guarantee, which team can guarantee how long any appointment will go. But I can only guarantee about what is in my mind. In my mind, of course, in the way of thinking, we are thinking the same, yes. And in the operation, I'm very hopeful that it's going to happen the same. So I always say the same thing. If team will be here and delivering the football mentality that we are expecting him to do, which I'm sure that he will do. So after that, I'm dreaming to make him a very long time coach of this club, and he will. I feel like we are similar. You know, we came from different countries to England. I experienced 2.5 years before him this beautiful city. Now he's gonna feel it, and he's gonna fall in love with this city, I'm sure, because what makes the cities beautiful. Of course, it is so beautiful, green and everything. But what makes the cities beautiful is the people. These people of Hull is, I think, unique. They are so friendly, so warm. He's such a warm-blooded guy, and he will fall in love with the city, the fans. I'm sure about it. So this relation will be, I think, not easy to breakable. It's not gonna be very easy breakable. So my dream with him is to have so many years together, enjoy the successes and sometimes losers, share the sorrow together, and have a good future together.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tim, Mike White from BBC Radio Humberside and Look North. Good to see you.
So you've heard there from Tim Volter. That's not just me and Burnsey rattling on, chewing the fat about what we thought. You can make your own assumptions from what you've heard. Just touching back on it, yeah, I enjoyed listening to him. Obviously, he was in some ways very cautious about what he said, wasn't he? He didn't. Let's talk about the goalkeeper situation, because Acun raised it himself. He raised that Ivor Pandor was going to be the number one. We all know what was said a few weeks ago now when Acun flew in to address some supporters here at the MKM Stadium. He referenced Ryan Alsop quite significantly. There was no mention of Alsop by name by either Volter or Acun. I raised it and as a collective about the goalkeeping situation, and Tim Volter basically said that he'll assess things and then,
which is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
He's got to look I mean, Acun clarified it after
He did.
after he'd said that Pandor will be the number one, so he'll get the number one jersey. But he said, you know, the final choice will be Tim's. You know, I won't interfere. You know, he clarified that later because he was treading on dangerous ground, and I think he recognised that. You know, by saying he's going to be the number one, that's, you know, that's the coach's decision ultimately, and he clarified it would be the coach's decision as to who plays in the team, and rightly so. To some extent, I felt that was a bit unnecessary, a bit of a distraction. Don't get into that, and don't feed the internet on that one. But yeah, Pandor's every chance of being in the starting lineup. But you don't know. I mean, Tim Walter may have different ideas about goalkeepers and everything like that. But if I was Ryan Alsop's agent, I'd be ringing other clubs at the moment. I suspect he's probably been doing it for a few weeks anyway.
I'd be camping outside Home Park if I was Ryan Alsop's agent, given the fact that Wayne Rooney is now the manager at Plymouth and spoke so glowingly of. But it is an interesting discussion though, because, you know, as much as Ryan Alsop was Liam's signing, and he was, and Liam put an awful lot of faith in Ryan Alsop, Walter plays, you know, the goalkeeper is basically a sweeper. So the goalkeeper will have as much responsibility in Walter's system as he did with Liam, potentially even more. When you watch Walter's team, the goalkeeper is sometimes on the halfway line. He's that far up. You know, it's not like we're going back to a situation where the goalkeeper now is just expected to keep the ball out of his net, and the footwork thing doesn't really matter. That
How terribly old-fashioned.
Yeah, that isn't the case. The goalkeeper is a fundamental person in Walter ball, as he said in his own words. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. And the feeling was from Liam that Pandor wasn't good enough with his feet to be in that system. So that is going to be a really interesting thing to watch. I mean, admittedly, I've seen Pandor once live, and that was out in Turkey against Curacao in that friendly, which
scarred you.
Yeah, I went to the playoff final a few years ago to watch Reading Huddersfield, and that was the worst game I've ever seen in my life. I think Curacao Hull City probably topped it. But Pandor looked nervous in that, and I guess he would be because it was his first game for Hull City, albeit only a friendly, but he looked a bit nervous. And, you know, I think he will look nervous on the first day of the season if he's given the shirt, because he might have been here for 8 months, 9 months, but it'll still be his first competitive game.
Let's see what happens. Just going back to, because I'm interested, you've actually seen his sides play football, his Hamburg side play football. In which way is it different? Because I'm still struggling with how is his football different. And it was the phrase that was used a lot. I'm different. My football's different. In what way do you detect it's different? What will we see?
I think it'll be. It's difficult to say now because, you know, I've not seen legions of it, but I think it's quicker. He gets it forward quicker.
Good.
The overlapping fullbacks. He likes to get it into the striker, but it's played with a greater tempo. I think if there was a criticism, and there was of Liam, particularly here behind us on that,
Too slow.
It was painfully slow. It was, you know, I think back to the Stoke game here on Good Friday, and I used the word turgid, and it was turgid. It was so slow. And even if you go back all the way back to the Doncaster game in the League Cup, the second game of the season, and Liam, the team were booed. You know, they scored early with Oscar. You think, it's going to be a relatively comfortable win now. They were booed off. Matt Ingram spent ages stood on the edge of the penalty area with nobody to pass to. They were booed off, and that wasn't a one-off. That level of performance here, there was so many games that it was slow. And it's been said that Walter, can struggle against teams with a low block. That they can struggle to break it down. But I think there'll be. Whereas Liam's team was much more like we'll just pass sideways and back at home against a low block, and we'll struggle to break them down. And maybe not even have a shot on target, which wasn't unusual. I do get the feeling with Walter that it will be that the press will be more intensive on a more regular basis, and I think they'll play forward quicker and they'll be looking to get shots away a lot quicker rather than it was sort of with England a bit last night actually. They're getting to the edge of the box. Grealish will get to the edge of the box, and he turns away and goes back, and you think it's opened up, have a go. And so many times last season here, Jadon Philogene would get to the edge of the box, and instead of pulling the trigger, turn away and go back, and they go out, and then suddenly the defenders of being able to reset. I think with Volta, there'll be an expectation. No, there'll be a demand from him when we get anywhere near the box. If there's an opportunity, don't look for the pass, shoot. So I think that's how it will be different. But ultimately, until we see it in action, the jury in that sense is going to be out, and that's the exciting thing for me. And what I'm looking forward to seeing is how does different look actually on the pitch. I guess time will tell.
How different is different? We'll find out through the course of the season. I looked at the camera there, Baz, and I remembered we were on camera just to
That's never a good thing.
look profound on
There's
the
a reason you
1904
do 40
club.
years on behind the radio mic, isn't there? And I
There
try
is
and avoid
true.
it.
Cheers, Baz.
It's all right, you're welcome. But yeah, I'm enthused by it. Coming back to the guys I spoke to outside the stadium beforehand, it's difficult to know what you make of an appointment, isn't it? Particularly a manager coming from abroad that you're not overly familiar with. If we'd have appointed Chris Wilder, for example, you kind of know you've got that greater knowledge bank of what you're going to expect from Chris Wilder, or any other manager that perhaps has worked in this country, because Tim isn't somebody that we were that aware of before he came. You wait. The first yardstick is, well, let's speak to him. Let's see what he's got to say. And he came across really well, as you say. He was effervescent, very colourful, big grin, big smile, a warm. You can tell he's a warm, engaging character. The next yardstick of what to expect from him is when we're out in Turkey and we get a look in friendlies. But what can you read from a friendly? I mean,
No, you can't.
They could get tonked 5-0 in their first friendly out in Turkey, and you go, well, what can I take from that? Then we get to the first game of the season. We'll know a bit more then. Probably 3 months in is a decent amount of time for him to have assembled a squad, got them playing into his methodology. But ultimately, Championship football is relentless, and it waits for no man, and he'll need to get results.
Well, and I absolutely accept that, and he'll accept that. The encouraging thing was he's obviously looked at the English game, because he referenced, he's made for England, and he's been studying it, he's been looking at games, and has obviously seen something in the Championship that he feels will suit his style and his different way of playing. High intensity in every training, so the players are going to be. I mean, I think there were, high intensity with Liam, not always the time, because we go back to playing too slowly at times. But high intensity, a lot of possession, but possession is nothing without working on and off the ball, is what he said. So make of that what you will. We'll see what he's about. But I was impressed with him today. It was all right.
Let's now turn to transfers, because I know that's what we're all talking about, because as we've said throughout this episode, and on God knows how many previous ones, there's a lot of work to do in the transfer market. If the season was to start tomorrow, and thankfully it doesn't, they aren't in a place where they will challenge. So they need players, particularly attacking players. While I was off last week, we ran a story with Tan, talking openly about Liam Delap, about the desire to bring him back. I think there's a feeling from Liam Delap that he might want to chance it in the Premier League. I'm not convinced that I potentially could see Ipswich as a.
Oh, I definitely. I said it on the 1904 club a few weeks ago.
Actually. I'm not sure that there's too many other teams that would go there just yet, because and I love Liam Delap. I think he's got an incredible career ahead of him. He only scored 7 goals before his injury in the Championship. I think if a Premier League team are going to take a punt on him, those figures probably need to be a bit higher. So I think he probably needs another year in the Championship, and I think here would be a real good step for him. So that would be a great move. Where else are you thinking that they need to go? We know up front is paramount. 2/3 forward players.
I think they need 3 strikers. We didn't get time, and I know Bill Robbins sent us a tweet on yesterday's 1904 club and messaged it today. There wasn't a time for the Oscar question, and we discussed Oscar yesterday. I think they need 3 strikers at least. I think I'd always prefer to see a squad with 4 strikers. They needed the central midfielder. If Greaves goes, and I get the feeling he wants Premier League football and will probably go. Left-sided central defender. Giles coming in, yes? Are you expecting that?
No, I'm not.
Are they called on that?
Well, so the club have an obligation to buy him, but just because there's an obligation, there still needs to be buy-in from the player.
Yeah.
Now, does Ryan Giles, now there's been a change in manager, does Ryan Giles see his future here? Does he want, does he see, it's obviously not going to be at Luton, I wouldn't have thought. He was at Middlesbrough before. Could that, is there a case for him going back to Middlesbrough? You probably wouldn't rule that out. I think there's a lot up in the air, and a lot will depend on what Hull City. For me, I like Ryan Giles, but if I've got a really small amount of money to play with in the transfer market, am I spending £4 million on Ryan Giles, or am I maybe looking to the loan market? Do I look at Matty Jacob? Even Brandon? The thing is, does Brendan Fleming come back into contention now? Am I spending? If I've got £8 million to spend this summer, am I spending half of that on Ryan Giles, knowing full well that I need at least one more central midfielder, realistically two, because Doherty's gone. Doherty was back up but has gone. Tyler Morton was a regular, has gone back to Liverpool. That leaves you with Seri and Regan Slater.
Yeah.
Ozan Tufan can play in there, but that's an area that needs work. But up front, strikers cost money, and good strikers cost money. Yeah, you can look around and you can use the loan market. You can they've shown with Oscar, they can pull a relatively prolific goal scorer from abroad for nothing. So they've got that in their pocket. But I'm not sure I'd spend £4 million on Ryan Giles. What about you?
Yeah, I'd take the point. You've got to adjust your budget accordingly, and the new manager will obviously have a look at him and have his say in the process as to whether they do it. And I think it's a fair point, Baz. So we'll have to wait and see. I like Giles.
Yeah,
I think he's a top left back, and for a team that likes to attack,
he will be perfect. And I've said that.
But Matty Jacob has come on. I'm glad you mentioned Brandon Fleming. I'm a big fan of Brandon Fleming. Liam, I think, just didn't fancy him because he felt it was too small. I don't know. Whatever. That ship has sailed.
Ryan Giles isn't exactly 10 foot tall.
No, but anyway. I hope there might be an opportunity for Brandon Fleming back at the club, because when he was playing, I liked him. I think he was one of the best players. Anyway,
yeah. But
we shall wait and see. But in terms of the point, absolutely, a couple of central midfielders needed. They are going to use the loan market. It's sensible. Acun was saying, but you might have to wait, because Premier. It's this domino effect, isn't it? And we touched on it in yesterday's edition. The domino effect of the Premier League clubs making their decisions. You asked the question, and I'm glad you did, about the Euros and the impact that might have on the transfer policy here, because the Euros, the big clubs right across Europe will be looking at all the players at the Euros, and they will be making decisions in terms of their squad, whether to make a move or not, and that might delay moves or open up unexpected moves, pathways for some of their players, because they think, well, I'm going to get him from Croatia or wherever and bring them in, and City might benefit from that. So we'll wait and see. And what did Tim Walter say? It's not it's not the quantity players or the timing of when we get the players. It's just making sure we get the right player.
Yeah, well, that was it. Because I asked, it was the same with Liam last season. Every manager wants the squad at the start of the summer. He wants every transfer done and dusted. That isn't the reality. We saw it, as you touched on there, we saw it last summer, didn't we? Delap arrived. I met Delap at the airport flying out to Turkey. He'd arrived then, but then they had to wait until the final day of the window to get Tyler Morton and get confirmed Philogene. We knew Philogene was happening for quite a while, but it didn't actually go through until the final day of the window. So that's the extremes of the first day of the trip to Turkey, which was 4 or 5 days into pre-season. Delap arrives. The last day of the window, best part of 2-3 months later, James Furlong as well. We should mention him actually. James Furlong, does he suddenly come into the reckoning?
Is he still? He's not. Where is he?
Well, he's still here.
Is he?
Yeah,
Right.
he's just yeah.
What about I meant to mention it yesterday. The other lad from Chelsea, Simons.
Xavier Simons. So yeah, he'll
Is
come
he
back.
still a
Well,
City
yeah,
player?
yeah. He was on. He's been out on loan, hasn't he? At Fleetwood. So he'll come back into. You know, this is the other thing. You've got all these loan players that have been away. Ryan Longman did okay at Millwall. Got goal of the season against Leicester. He'll come back into the first team squad for the. He'll report back on the first day of pre-season, as will Xavi Simons. I guess unless something changes, Ryan Woods is another one they've got 20 odd players out on loan. Well, they had 20 odd players out on loan. He's away in Ireland at the minute, but does Will Jarvis suddenly come back into the fold because they need wingers? You've got Jason Lakilo, not for me, nowhere near good enough the standard, but he will come back into pre-season. They'll all report. It'll be like bloody. I don't know. It'll be busy on pre-season, first day of pre-season.
That's a lot of players coming in and a lot of players to move out, because most of them, and I know we've said maybe Brandon Fleming will get another chance. I suspect most of them, the decision's been made within the club already that they're not good enough, and we have to move them on. But sometimes players develop through a loan spell, and they come back, and a different coach, a different manager has a different viewpoint, can get different things out of them. So
Harry Vaughan's another one. Does Harry?
Yeah, he was really exciting.
Yeah,
he was really exciting.
You know, let's be right about as well. When Liam Rossini eulogised over Xavi Simons and loved him to pieces. Played a couple of games, didn't
Do
exactly impress, and was bombed off on loan. And does he come back a better player? Well, he's not done a huge amount. He's not played a huge amount out on loan. So I mean, it's on that basis. He's not done much in the lower leagues. Is it realistic for him to suddenly come back and impress and be a starter for Hull City in the Championship for a team that want to be promoted? As you sit here now, you'd have to say no. But you know, again, you don't know. Players peak at different times. He could come back a world beater in pre-season and be like, well, yeah, where's he come from? So there's a lot in the melting pot. There's a lot to be worked out. And as you quite rightly say, Burnsey, there will be decisions that have been, like Ryan Woods, I struggle to think there's going to have a future here. I think also probably Ryan himself really enjoyed himself down at Exeter, and he'd like both Exeter and Ryan would like to make that move permanent. I'm sure Hull City would be happy to get him off the wage bill because he's a high earner. But what of Ryan Longman? You know, he played regularly down at Millwall. You know, we've seen in flashes for Hull City what a talented boy he is. I'm not sure he's necessarily what they need for a team pushing for the playoffs. So there's a lot. They're the big questions, and they're the things that he's going to have to deal with right now, going forward over the next 3 or 4 weeks before the players come back, and trying to get players in early. Because it's all right waiting for the domino effect until the last couple of days of the window, but by that point you're at the end of August. You've already played 2 or 3 games of the season. You know, he needs forward players. He needs to have at least one striker in, I think, early in pre-season. If you could get a Liam Delap style in for your 10-day trip to Turkey, try and get business done. But there's a lot to be excited about, but there's a lot of question marks, and ultimately, Volta will need to be given. I say given, it makes it sound like, you know, Acun turns up with a player and goes, here you are. But it's like any manager at any club, they need to be given a squad. Whoever signs the players, whoever has input in the players is a moot point. They need, between them, to have a squad capable of challenging, and then you can start to say, well, yeah, they're capable of getting in the top 6, because at the minute they certainly aren't.
No. But I suspect they will be, because the chairman's very driven and people are very
and they will
driven.
sign players.
They will sign players, and they appear to have good relationships with the big clubs in terms of getting players out on loan. So you know, I'm relatively confident that they'll certainly sign players. Only
it's all gone here.
paper. Only time's going to tell whether they're the right players or not. But I have this vision of Tim Walter sitting in, not in a travel lodge or a Premier Inn, because given he's a cool-looking dude, spy or something.
He'll probably in
well, you know, that's somewhere quite smart in his lair with lots of screens, looking at videos of players and saying, get him, and you know, that's the target and everything like that. So we'll wait and see. It's going to be fascinating, and we wish them well with it.
Yeah, it is. I think it's something to embrace. You know, you can always fear change, can't you? And I think you need to embrace it. And I was impressed with what I saw today, what I heard. I liked him. I'm looking forward to getting to know him a bit better over the next few weeks. I know he likes. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how it plays out, and I think we'll have a better idea when we all roll back on the first day of pre-season, see what activity's been done in the window, and I'm really, really excited to get out to Istanbul in a few weeks' time, and actually watch him on the training pitch and see how he interacts with his players, see what he asks of them on the training pitch. Liam was very hands-on on the training pitch, incredibly hands-on. It is worth, what I remember as well, the coaching staff. I know we've kind of already confirmed it ourselves, to be fair.
Talked about him yesterday. Yeah.
But he did say, he confirmed what we've been saying for a few weeks now, that Julian Hubner is coming and Filip Tapalovic is coming as well. But Andy Dawson, he spoke to Tim Volter has said he's spoken to Andy Dawson. Andy Dawson, as we've said for a while now as well, that he is a key part of the management staff going forward. And he will be, as we said on the pod yesterday, he will be a big conduit between Volter's staff coming from Germany and also the players, because obviously he knows the club inside out, he knows the squad, he's been around it for a long time now, and he will be an important piece in that jigsaw, won't he?
Yeah, and he knows the division, he knows the other teams and everything like that, and I'm glad he's got a role at the club. It's going to be different. Well, it was the word of the day. I'm different. Part of me, as I said at the top, Liam Rosenior said the same thing, and I think back to previous managers. Shota was charming coming in.
Yeah, as I said, you'd be hard pushed to go to a new manager press conference anywhere.
Leonid was charming coming in, but ultimately we come back to, can he charm the players? Can he charm the crowd? Can he get results? But
See.
In his managerial career, every club he's won more games than he's lost. So,
and as Acun made the point, didn't he? I think he said he referenced more than once that his points return at Hamburg was something like 1.82 in a very difficult. And we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? That getting promotion out of the Bundesliga isn't easy. It's difficult. You have all sorts of problems there, and so it's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to English football as well. There are some
he's made for it. He says he says he's. I'll take him if he. I'll take that. He studied it, and if he thinks he's made for it, then good on him.
And he said relish the pressure, didn't he? He said relish the pressure and enjoy the pressure because it's what we live for. So yeah, we shall see. But that's all we've got time for on this little bonus episode of the 1904 Club. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, keep getting in touch. Keep tweeting myself, Burnsey, Fletch, Prutz, and also the 1904 Club itself, and we'll be back on Monday with another instalment of the 1904 Club.